Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Kingdom Hearts 2. No, not this one. This one's the one we Americans have been playing for the last 10 years. Let's finally take a look at the final mix, which didn't come out here until late last year. We finally got our hands on the final mix and the HD remix is pretty good looking, but is it worth the upgrade, and does Kingdom Hearts 2 final mix really live up to the hype? Well, the answer is yes for the most part, but this new HD re-release does come with a few bugs, and I'll be getting into that later in my review. In the meantime, let's take a look at Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, the one Kingdom Hearts game that I've been waiting for over a decade almost to get over here. Alright, I'm not going to be doing a long spiel like I did with my original Kingdom Hearts video because I think I overdone it with last year's RPGs whenever I reviewed them, going on too much about their stories. So I'm going to make another video kind of nitpicking and talking about the stories and my thoughts on the story of Kingdom Hearts 2, and I'll be publishing it at the same time, and there should be a card linking there if you're wondering more about the story. If you're here for the review, well, I'll start by telling you what the story's about just a little bit. Now, when I got the original Kingdom Hearts 2 about 9 years ago, I remember thinking how excited I was because I wanted to see the rest of Sora's tale. Will he be able to find Mickey? What happened to Riku? Instead, the first 3 hours I was treated to a slice of life anime mixed in with the Matrix involving some kid named Roxas. No, I ain't kidding. The first 3 hours of the game has nothing to do with the main story. But once you get past Roxas's part, and he is an interesting character, and by the way, I hope you took my advice when I did review the 1.5 HD remix and did not see 358 over 2 days. Otherwise, a lot of the twists of his story are ruined. But after Roxas finally leaves and we get control of Sora, things start to happen. Basically, we find out that the worlds are being threatened by some evil organization of nobodies. What are nobodies? Well, they're basically heartless fodder. Whenever a heartless steals a heart, it leaves behind a shell. If that shell is strong enough, it can still possess its human will and some of its humanity. However, that humanity is twisted, and these people are basically out to destroy all of creation just so they might have a chance to become human again, and Sora is going to have to stop them because he doesn't want their plans to succeed. Basic plot. And out of all the stories in the Kingdom Hearts series, this one's probably the most episodic. The Disney worlds themselves don't ever really seem to connect or congeal with the main plot. Either RE Chain of Memories maybe a little bit more, but then it had the Mega Man formula behind it. This one, the stories seem to be completely separate from the main branch involving the organization. There's not a single Disney story that really ties in with the plot at all in this one, and that kind of does make it disappointing in some ways. That said, the main plot with the organization is good, and most of these side plots with the inside the Disney worlds are still pretty interesting overall. So I really can't fault this game's storyline for being terrible. And I still watch a lot of the game's cutscenes. There's a ton of them. I would say almost half the game is watching these cutscenes. And with the final mix out, there's even more cutscenes to watch now. And I do enjoy the game's story. It's just doesn't rank up there as well as some of the other Kingdom Hearts games, including the game that comes next on this collection, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Graphically, this game is beautiful to look at. In the standard definition version, the game was great, and just the way the artistry really held up the game. Now that it's gotten an HD shine, it just looks beautiful. The only thing that's really separating this from a current PlayStation 3 generation game would be the amount of detail that you see in some of the environments. But other than that, this game does not look like it's 9 years old. It's really, really good to look at. The colors are great. Just the worlds and the environments are great. Now, there are some nitpicks I could have, though, with some of the environments when it comes to some of the cutscenes, when it comes to the way it looked in the movies. But for the most part, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a beautiful looking game, and it really shows it in the HD collection. Now, as far as the camera goes, they fixed a lot of the issues in the original Kingdom Hearts, by having the camera go further back, so now you can see more of the action and it will show up right away. And Kingdom Hearts 2 also gave us the first twin analog Kingdom Hearts game, so overall the graphics in this game are pretty good. When it comes to this game's music, it's a bit of a mixed bag between new and old. For example, a lot of your repeating worlds will have the same exact music as they did in the original Kingdom Hearts games. For example, Halloween Town, Agrabah, and even Hollow Bastion have the same exact music. However, some of the newer stages have their own themes, and for the most part they sound pretty good. One of the wiser decisions Square Enix made in creating this game was not to do the Pirates of the Caribbean theme for Port Royal as its main theme. Instead, you have this kind of eerie sounding theme until bad guys show up, and then when the bad guys show up, you then get treated to the Roxas Pirates of the Caribbean theme, and it is just really excellent to listen to. The voice acting's also pretty good for the most part. There is one character that kind of misses her lines, though.
Sora, Donald, Goofy!
Goofy! I mean, they couldn't have her redo that line, and yes, that is the voice of the original Princess Jasmine from the movie. People's voices change with age, and it's been a decade and a half since the movie came out to probably when she dubbed this game, so obviously her voice changed a little, but they couldn't catch that and redo that line because that is the most unintentionally funny line in the entire Kingdom Hearts series. I always crack up when I hear that line. Goofy! Alright, let's talk about the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 2. And I've always held this one down towards the lower end of Kingdom Hearts games when it comes to the gameplay. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst. I can understand people definitely enjoying it more than the card-based Chain of Memories. I can understand people enjoying it more than Recoded, but I did not ever put this one as close to the original. In fact, I would say 358 over 2 days was better than Kingdom Hearts 2, at least the version we first got here in North America. Final Mix adds a load of new content that's specifically for getting into the battle system and exploring just how deep it is. Because if you're just playing through the story, the only thing you really need to know to win a lot of these battles is to mash X and triangle and you'll win. And I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. Despite some of these big abilities you can grow and some of this magic and some of this other stuff like the drive systems that you can use, for the most part, getting through the main story, it's just mashing X, and the game's button mashing design really doesn't help. You rarely need to block, you rarely need to jump. It's just for the most part just mashing X, and that does bring down the enjoyment of it, unfortunately. And the shame of it is like I said, they got a lot of neat add-ons. For example, Sora now has a drive form that he can use. Selecting this ability will get either rid of Donald, Goofy, or both, and will allow him to enter different transformations, which really power him up. And what's even more is the more you use drive forms, the more abilities that you can get from them that you can attach to Sora after the drive is over. For example, using Paler form so many times will allow you access to high jump. There's also a new drive form in the Final Mix, which gives Sora the ability to dodge roll as well as the ability to use his past abilities from the original game. That is new here. And of course, you have to watch out for anti-form when you use these drive modes. This appears later in the game, kind of keep you from spamming drive too much. Basically, anti-form is this really weak form that you're stuck with until it runs out and sucks up all your drive form. It happens at randomly and you don't want it. You can also summon as well, but since summon takes away from the same gauge that you drive, I didn't find myself using summons either. In fact, I used summons less in Kingdom Hearts 2 than I did in the original. Overall, the game is solid and it's fun, but it's a little bit too button mashy in a way to really enjoy it as far as the main story goes. Now let's get into the Final Mix, shall we? The Final Mix takes everything I just said and tosses it out the window, and Square Enix is allowed to show just how deep they intended this battle system to be. And I wish we got some of this content in our original. People like me wouldn't be so cynical towards the original game's play. But basically, next to that new drive, you have a wealth of new enemies. First, you have these Organization 13 mushrooms, which you have to do special challenges in order to beat. In order to beat them, you're going to have to max out the drive form on each one of your drives. That's going to take a while. And even then, they're harder than hell. I've only beaten a few of them. And then you also have this hidden area that's just full of tricky platforms. Yes, Kingdom Hearts 2 now has an area where you can actually platform in like the original, and I enjoyed it. But you really have to, again, max out a lot of these drive forms. Your reward for beating this area is you get into this like holodeck area where you're able to fight Organization 13 members, except this time it's super maxed out. I should also add in they threw in Roxas not only in this holographic area, but he's now a story boss fight. So also for people like me who were complaining there was no dark Riku-esque hard fight in this game's story mode, yeah, we can shut up about that too, because Roxas will kill you a couple of times fighting him. He's really, really hard. And then finally, there is the boss fight against the Lingering Will. And yeah, he's harder than Sephiroth. In fact, I remember going into him the first time. I was like level 80, had some of the best armor in the game, had the ultimate weapon. I'm like, you Alfonso, Elric, Reject are going down. Well, here's what happened. Take that! Yeah, it takes very little to no effort for this guy to kill you and to really just kind of mess you up. He's the hardest secret boss I think I've ever seen in a Kingdom Hearts game. He's, like I said, super hard. If you want to see the depth of Kingdom Hearts 2 battle system and prove just how good you are at Kingdom Hearts 2, just try the Lingering Will out. If you thought you were a badass like I was because you beat Proud Mode no sweat in the original game, the Lingering Will definitely humble you. He is extremely hard. Now, there's also a few secret endings to this game too that were added on. The original game's secret ending can now be viewed just by beating this game on normal with all the keyholes locked, which is pretty much you beating the story mode and seeing all the story mode has to offer. However, there is another secret ending to this game which I have yet to unlock because, well, in order to unlock it, you have to beat all those mushroom people I talked about. You have to clear that entire room full of organization members, and then you got to beat this guy, the Lingering Will. And then depending on the difficulty modes, you'll have to either finish all of Jiminy's Journal, which means collect a whole bunch of stuff, and complete the Gummy Ship missions as well. Definitely not an easy task to get everything in this game completed. I should also mention this game's still cut, though. If those of you who were expecting maybe an uncut version of Kingdom Hearts 2, which would mean Axel's death is uncensored, which is kind of ironic. They did do it uncensored in kind of the hidden trailer that was tacked on to Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5, but here it's back to being cut again. And of course, Will's in the Pirates of the Caribbean stage, little I'll be lost Davy Jones' locker when he's not pointing the gun at his head is still there, making it odd. But you have to make those changes if you want to keep it an E rating. So it's kind of odd. That said, they kept Zigbar's little guns thing. He now makes it into a sniper scope like he did in the original Japanese version. So that's about the only thing they left uncut in this one. We're still dealing with the English cut, unfortunately. The only bad thing I can think about as far as the actual Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix that I need to add in and warn people about is, of course, the Little Mermaid stage, but everybody's complained about that stage. I've already made complaints about that stage. Don't play that stage unless you plan on muting your TV, because there's nothing worse than listening to Haley Joel Osment and whoever plays the voice of Ariel singing Under the Sea, so considering it's not Ariel's song either. It's just god awful. All those songs in that stage are just god awful. But other than that, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is pretty good, except for the HD edition's bugs. Yeah, that's another thing I'm going to have to get into. While I would love to play a Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix version that's as solid as the PlayStation 2 version, and one of the reasons why people are hoping for an Xbox One and PS4 port so they can have a hard drive installed is that this game has bugs due to the fact that it's on a Blu-ray disc that does not have a hard drive install. Have you noticed that whenever I've shown off these drive forms, I usually pause? Well, that's because there's a bug in the game. Here's how it works. Usually when you go into drive form in the original PS2 version, enemies get stunned and thrown out of the way, and you can start hitting them the second you're free from the animation of your transformation. So you get a few free hits also while you transform into drive form. Here the animation takes so long due to the load time, the enemies are back on their feet and even trying to hit you again long before you're able to retake control of Sora. This just makes the game not as solid as it should be. There's other bugs too. If you're one of those people who are really hardcore, more hardcore than me about this game, who try to beat it with only leveling up once, then you're also going to be ticked about a few of these bugs that are in this game. Hopefully we will get an Xbox One or PS4 port which will have that data install, which will fix most of these problems. Anyways, I give Kingdom Hearts 2 on the Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD remix about a 4.5 out of 5. Yes, it is button mashy, but it is still fun. The story's not perfect, but I still enjoyed it, and having all these nice extras to really lengthen the game out to several hundred hours really makes me like this game even more. That said, it's not the best game on the collection. The next one is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is on the collection. It's my favorite Kingdom Hearts game, both story-wise and battle system-wise, and I can't wait to play this and show this to you in HD. And then after that, unfortunately, comes Recoded. Oh dear, good Lord, help us. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you would like to see more of my Kingdom Hearts videos, feel free to click subscribe. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.